Welcome to Whole Lot of Wolves, episode 10 of season 4. We're your hosts. I'm Joshua Buckley.
I am Paul LePage.
Joining us again from New York City, our amazing producer, Mr. Alex Patakis. How's it going, Alex?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. You got some wine tonight?
Of course. Got the Esfuerzo Sauvignon Blanc chilling right now. About to crack open the first glass.
Excellent. Excellent. And from Baltimore, our social media extraordinaire, Mr. Danny Paletti. How's it going, Danny?
Cheers, guys. Doing okay?
I feel like we're getting a big enough crew now. We're almost like the Dan Patrick Show or what is it? What's this Pat McAfee show where it's like 18 different sub hosts. Although I will say, I feel like Danny adds a lot more than AJ Hawk does.
I'll take it. I don't know who that is, but
AJ Hawk's a famous Green Bay Packer. That one hits home for me. He's an accumulator of tackles and tackles only, which is the most meaningless stat for defensive players in the NFL. Anyway, continue.
All right, I just Googled him. I definitely know who AJ Hawk is.
What? That's a good question. Okay, if tackles are the most meaningless stat in American football, what do you think is the most meaningless stat in English football or just in soccer?
I think there's an argument to say expected goals.
Oh, yes.
What's the point of expected goals if they don't happen? So,
that.
but we won 2-0, but yeah, we beat you by expected goals. So it just doesn't work.
I like that. I like that a lot. Maybe even dribbles. Successful dribbles. I like chances created. That to me is always like, what? Chances created. I don't know. All right. Anyways, guys, we don't have a game to talk about from last week because it was the international break, right, Danny?
That's right. We had several players go out on international duty. Just about 13 of them, I think. Well, 12 left the first team to go, and then Yerson Mosquera, obviously, out on loan, I guess. Oddly, he's there through the end of the year, but no one quite knows what'll happen at the end of the MLS season, but or the playoffs, obviously. I guess the main ones to talk about are sort of the starters. So like Mateus Cunha played 2 games. Really a bad window for Brazil overall. They drew with Venezuela first in Brazil, and that's really not good. Venezuela are, I think, like 53rd ranked team or something. They're pretty far down there. It's not a great result.
I mean, the good news is, at least they didn't have their best player tear his ACL or something.
Right. Yeah, and getting to that, then they lost to Uruguay, perhaps precipitated by Neymar tearing his ACL and meniscus. Which, by the way, did you see the announcement from Al Hilal on Twitter? I'm loving that. It's like a full poster with like artistic representation of Neymar holding his knee and like raising his hand, asking for medical attention. It's the most unhinged thing I've seen.
With sponsorship logos on the bottom of it, I might add.
Yes, amazing. If we end up going out, next year for the Content Creators Cup, and that happens to me, I expect a similar treatment.
We'll all need our own posters, I think, if we go out there.
You will be the one who has to create the graphic and distribute it, though. You realize that.
That's probably true. So Cunha still trying to break into the team, I suppose, with a bunch of big name forwards for Brazil. So he's just getting time at the end of games. So it's like 12 minutes in the first game, 7 in the next. But the bigger thing with him, obviously, is that he had the latest game. Obviously, the opponent for the second game is Uruguay. Santi Bueno was on the bench. But it means that they both finished, I think, around like 3 a.m. UK time today on the 18th. and then have to get back to England from Montevideo. So that's quite a trek. Who else was in action? Doc played 290s for Ireland. Got a goal and assist and 2 assists against Gibraltar. Ireland have a weird thing with the Euros qualifying where they actually would have done better to lose to Gibraltar or some weirdness, something to do with their rankings in Europe, make it a more viable path to the playoffs. I don't really understand it.
That's some BCS nonsense, is what that is.
Yeah, yeah. So probably pretty frustrating for him, but some good game time. Joe Hodge captained the U21s to a win against Latvia. Good for him. He's just coming back from injury, obviously. The Portugal boys, that's Todi, Neto, Jose Sa, and Nelson, were all variously involved in Portugal's 2 games. Portugal have just been on a roll and keep winning. But none of our boys are really involved. Neto got 25 minutes after all 5 goals have been scored against Bosnia. But that was it. Everybody else got nothing from those games. So that's probably good for one of our talismans at the moment, Pedro Neto, is that he, should be ready to go. Hwang Hee-chan, he had a couple of friendlies, so they weren't competitive. They weren't for qualifying or anything. Played around 60 minutes, and then he played a full 90 minutes against Vietnam. Goal and an assist against Vietnam, obviously a weaker opponent, but he's looking very confident. Again, sort of like with Cunha, bigger thing is the travel time. That stuff was all over in Southeast Asia. So even though he finished up a bit earlier, like about, I don't know, almost 20 hours earlier than Cunha, he's still got a long way to come back. And then Sasha seemed to be building some fitness, got 81 minutes against Azerbaijan. He looked pretty tired by the end of that. I was actually watching that one, but he seems to be working his way back. Those are sort of the highlights. Santi Bueno can't get on the field. Boubacar Traore, as far as I can tell, was an unused sub, but some of those games are not very well reported. Fabio Silva continues to score against people from Eastern Europe or thereabouts. He scored a goal against Belarus. All the usual stuff.
I wonder what is the harder trip. Is it from Korea or from South America? Because obviously, going west, so or going east. I personally find it more difficult if I'm traveling east and kind of losing those hours. Do you think that's probably the case for those guys as well? Or is 20-hour flight a 20-hour flight regardless?
I have no idea how they do it. I mean, they've got to get their brains back on a different time schedule. I don't know what route you take if you're going from Uruguay to the UK. I mean, it's a long trip regardless. I guess you stop somewhere in Brazil and then go on to UK. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you'd have to stop in like Southern Europe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Rio to London's probably a regular route.
Okay.
Yeah. I think at another one, I admit, some of these things, I don't stop following players even after they leave for a little bit just to see what's up. A certain someone that we talked about last time, Mateus Nunes, obviously didn't get called up. You'd think that with all the traveling they do, they're not really that into hopping around time zones when they have a couple of weeks off. He was at a Lakers game.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's even further.
He went all the way out to LA despite not being on international duty.
Did they have like an ear convention or something going on there? Is that
Yeah. Yeah, that was probably it. He was in town for the ear convention.
Yeah. Or he's seen Hector Herrera as a plastic surgeon. You never know.
That could be.
All right. So Danny, thanks for keeping track of all that for us with your great spreadsheets and times and everything. We appreciate it. And so now it's back to the EPL schedule, and Wolves have Bournemouth on Saturday at 10 Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Is this a huge game for Gary O'Neill, Paul, personally, because of the fact that he was really the reason Bournemouth is still in the EPL?
I think so, that he'll be looking at it certainly to prove a point. And it's probably a really good opportunity for him to do that at this stage. Now that he's 8 games in, he's had another break to work with that nucleus of the squad, and they're in a they're not into great shakes either. So I think he'll like the fact that probably the pressure's on them more. That Wolves are coming into town. Obviously, we're down there and everything, but they'll be looking at us as a possibility for 3 points and get their season on track. I think that could play into our hands, and he's probably got one idea that that might be what they're looking to do, and hopefully combat that accordingly.
Alex, what do you think? If you were Gary O'Neill, what's a bigger game, beating Man City or winning this one?
Personally, winning this one, professionally beating Man City, if that makes sense. I mean,
know. I think that's the perfect answer.
Yeah. I think this will mean more to him. Because I think, like many Bournemouth supporters, he was caught extremely off guard and felt like he was maybe hard done by. And it has to feel good knowing that, like, he is now at what I would argue is a bigger club than Bournemouth and a better project than Bournemouth. And that the guy who replaced him, who they had eyes for probably when he was there, isn't doing very well. So I like that chip on his shoulder. You know, I really think that fits this team as well. You know, it's like this squad was kind of shat on, for lack of a better term, by Julian Lopetegui all summer, and probably has a bit of a chip on its shoulder because of that. And I feel like Gary O'Neill kind of embodies that same mentality as a manager. So I'm excited about that. So thank you, Bournemouth, for pissing him off and making him eligible to come and replace Lopetegui. 96 hours before he played Manchester United or whatever it was.
Paul, I think this will be an interesting kind of test to see how the players are up for this game, because I feel like if they're really invested in O'Neill and like really backing him, they'll come out with a ton of energy early on. And I'd be a little bit worried if they come out flat, as far as like, okay, they know how much this means to O'Neill, but they don't really care that much. And you think I'm right in that?
I don't think he's that. He doesn't certainly come across anyway as that type of coach that he'd get over animated in making it more of a big deal about him than the team ethic. So I don't think that'll come across. I do think he'll be potentially super diligent and really to the nth degree dialed in on what he wants to do against the opponents. So I think the team's output will naturally flow from that. And if all of those elements line up, that his strategy's right, his setup's correct, and he's got the players in that formation, however it comes out, then I think he'll get the output from them regardless of having to make it about him in any way, which I think is probably a good thing.
Well, it's going to be interesting, too, to see the lineup, because as Danny's pointed out, there were a lot of guys, especially, offensive players who were out on duty. And the back five was certainly working. Danny, do you think it's a back five again? And if so, with the traveling, is Cunha and Huang going to be back in the starting 11?
I think that's a really interesting question, actually, just because, like you said, Cunha and Huang being the ones who traveled the furthest, I think is going to play into it, especially we know that they like to protect Huang a bit. He's one that usually comes off early if they can do it, with his past injury problems. And I just wonder, I know that fans are probably going to hope that we switch to a back four, try to go more attacking, put another creative player. But I just wonder if you say, like, look, this has been working for us. Let's stick with the back three. We can even, if we want to, sacrifice one of them, whether that's Cunha or Huang, from the beginning, and go like, 5-3-2, 3-5-2, whatever. And just put another player in midfield with Bellegarde coming back and with Traore possibly coming into the team, that was something I didn't mention. Boubacar Traore played Saudi Arabia um, on the 17th, but I looked into it. They actually played in Portugal, so not nearly as far as they could have been traveling. So I feel like he'll be good to go, especially since he was on the bench the whole time. Um, and that makes me wonder if we might stick with three at the back just to be a bit more pragmatic. And like Paul said, Bournemouth are going to have to look at this as a time to try to get points, and they might have to come at us. They haven't gotten a win yet. They're at home. Maybe we just try to see, well, maybe we can even hit them on the break, even though they're a considerably weaker team than City or Villa were.
I don't want to see any part of the back four for a while now. I feel like the back five's going. We gotta roll with it as long as we can. The only thing that would cause me to think, well, maybe a four might be better is to try and get Bellegarde into the starting 11, Paul. But he could also still come in and play next to João Gomez. We don't really know how if that's something he could fit in with, or just a direct replacement for starting for Hwang.
To me, he doesn't look like a midfielder that could be suited to a two, but I don't know. That's on first impressions. He does seem one that's more fluid within a three. But I've got some scope for it, maybe seeing him more forward and not on that right-hand side. Then that would naturally bring Neto over to the left, allow Wang to recover, come off the bench if needed, which he's done well in the past. And I wouldn't be surprised if they want to ease Cunha back in from his travels. It could be a toss-up as who starts as a central striker. Is it Sasha and he gets 60 minutes and then either Fabio or Cunha comes on, or does Fabio get a start straight away? Now, I'd think that if Sasha was the first choice previously, as the first sub to come on, maybe he's ahead of him in the pecking order. But I think there's some scope for some flexibility within the squad in those forward positions, and I wouldn't rule out seeing Bellegarde more advanced.
Danny, how many minutes did Sassy get for Austria?
The most meaningful minutes he got was in the second game. That was on the 16th. That was Monday against Azerbaijan. He got 81 minutes. And like the commentators kept talking about how they're probably going to bring him off starting around 60 minutes. And they kept saying it every few minutes, like, the next subs are coming on for Austria. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sasha Kalajdzic leave as he's working back on his fitness. And it just kept going. Like I said, he seemed pretty tired for those 20 minutes or so, but he was still being effective. But that was on Monday. That's like a regular level of recovery from Monday to Saturday. So he should be fine to start if he's okay to start, which we still don't really know. It seems like we're not there yet, but maybe this is the time.
Sounds like Bruno Lage is in charge of the subs over there in Austria. Alex is shaking his head. Alex, what do you want to see done with the midfield? Do you think starting, it seems like a no-brainer to start Gomez and Traore together, but then who's your defensive guy coming off the bench if you're trying to hold a lead late?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wouldn't be opposed, and this is kind of a stretch, but to seeing, I think it's a little bit of a toss-up between Boubacar and even possibly seeing Tommy Doyle. I base that off of almost nothing other than the fact that this guy comes in with some pretty serious expectations, and of the options we're talking about in the midfield, maybe more proven in creating something offensively, if we're not putting Bellegarde in that same category, because he also is someone who could possibly play on the wing. So we don't really know what was going on at Compton during the international break for the players who stayed. There was a good chance that Doyle could have impressed and earned his way into the team. Again, I think Traore is someone who has definitely earned more minutes than he has been getting, but there is something about him coming on with his seemingly endless energy, running at people who are pretty gassed when Wolves are already in a good position. So I think the focus for me has to be to just get a lead first. And however they can do that, whatever combination of players that they feel like is best to do that, that's important, because we've seen too many games against inferior opponents where they kind of come out sleepwalking, and then all of a sudden 60, 70 minutes have gone by and they're really reaching just to try to rescue a point against a team that they really need to be beating if they want to be a proper like mid-table club. So I would, I'm up for Doyle. I'm excited about this game from the standpoint that we're going to find out a little bit about someone, whether it's Traore, whether it's Doyle, whether it's Bellegarde, like where they're capable of playing, how good they're capable of playing. I think we'll learn a lot. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, after listening to our friends with Noisy Neighbors podcast for Man City and the way they were gushing about Tommy Doyle, I kind of want to see him too. And, he didn't go on international break, so he's been training this whole time. That could be a good spot for him. And of course, I forgot to point out the reason we're talking about this midfielder next to João Gomez is because Lamina is suspended for this game. He'll get to come back, but then he's sitting on, the yellow accumulation, which he'll probably get the game after that. So then, we're looking at probably him gone 2 of the next 3 games. I'd say for sure 2 of the next 4. So, that's that. Alex, what's up with Nelson Semedo? Is he suspended as well?
That is another thing that we don't know. And it's astonishing that, for a league of this status in the world's game, the most watched game in the world, that there is a lack of clarity on who is even eligible to play. Like, I didn't know if we should include him on that.
The last I've heard, the most definitive, the most confident answer that I've heard is Liam Keane, who said that he talked to people at Wolves and they said, Nelson has 5 yellows, he can't play. But when he said that, he even said that on the Premier League website, he only had 3. And then most recently, I was watching another podcast, and they said that currently on the website, he has 4. So they updated it, but only to 4. So I don't know.
I went to the site that's where I kind of made a list of players. So if the league itself is not acknowledging the 5th yellow, then I'm just confused on how Wolves are supposed to know how to proceed. Like, do they want to call attention to the league being wrong about maybe their best defender not being able, or do you kind of just go and show up and put him in the lineup and wait till somebody says something?
Well, I mean, in that case, what if he does play and then they come back later and go, oh, he wasn't supposed to? Is there a point deduction then? So maybe
you got to replay the game.
No, yeah. If it were Liverpool or something, maybe, but Bournemouth, tough luck. Move on.
Oh, if it was Liverpool, they'd just go ahead and give them a 4-0 win over us.
Yeah, give them the league.
Yeah, give them the league. So Paul Bellegarde, I'm sure we're going to see him in this game. Do you think he starts or does he come off the bench?
I'm going on that tangent that he starts in a forward wide right position.
Danny, what do you think?
Yeah, I was just jotting down a possible lineup, and I also think that he starts. It might be one of those things like we did with Mateus Nunes before he left, where he's like technically maybe part of a 3-man midfield, but often drifts wide and is playing a wide forward, like Paul said. I could easily see that.
Interesting. So, but probably just because of international travel, I'd say we are not getting our Octoronian Ranch front line.
Yeah, I think one of those 3.
Probably. Yeah, the Roni.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing that might be a little up in the air is Aitner East status. He missed international duty because he got a concussion against Villa. Hopefully he's okay to play, but if not, I would guess Doc coming in. Well, again with Semedo, we don't know either. What happens if Aitnori can't play because of a concussion and Semedo's out? I guess just Bueno and Doc.
Well, Breno was out before for 2 games, so his fitness hasn't been the best, nor has there been real definitive of what he did or what the prognosis was. So the question mark could still be on him. So do we see
Tody Gomez at left wing back again?
no, back like Phoenix from the Flames, Johnny comes back in.
Oh yeah. I forget Johnny's on this team half the time. I really do. Whenever he shows up on the team sheet, I'm like, oh yeah, he's still around.
He's nailed that spot on the bench. So if you're nailing that squad place down, then in theory you're good enough to start. So
Yeah,
we shall see.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. All right. Well, let's talk about predictions here. I'm looking at the predictions sheet, guys. Alex, you in the guest spot have 10. Danny has a big 2 points, and Paul and I have 3. So Danny, you're in some rough shape, man. You gotta make a comeback here.
I'm in Bournemouth form right now.
All right. Well, what's your prediction?
I'm feeling cautiously optimistic about this just because I think that I don't know. Every fan says that their team does poorly after an international break. There has to be some team that does well after an international break. And I think that our our main pieces are still there. I don't see anybody that we like absolutely need to be firing who is questionable apart from Cunha and Wang, maybe, but we don't know. Um, Other than that, if we can get one of the two of them on, I feel pretty confident about someone scoring a goal. So I'm happy to go with an optimistic 2-0 to Wolves.
Ooh, 2-0. Okay, Alex.
I am gonna go with a sleepy 1-0 win, I think, for Wolves. And I'm gonna say that it's a Sasha Kalajdzic goal. That whether as a sub or not, uncertain. But he's hungry.
Mm-hmm. For some ranch.
Exactly.
Paul, me and you have got to do something, man. We got to start making a run.
I'm quite optimistic for the win as well, but we're still that team that doesn't score a bucket load of goals. So I'm tempted just to fall back on the 1-1. That I'm thinking a draw away still wouldn't be the worst result. But I've got that good feeling, so I'm gonna say that we're gonna win 3-1.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Who scores those goals, Paul?
Fuck knows, Let's just say Jose Sarr scores one from like a goal kick and it takes a massive bounce and goes over their goalie's head. Oh God, no. Yeah. Jose Sarr, Dawson's due, and Kilman. Yeah. Just the most unexpected scorers. And you have to throw some bonus points if any of that happens.
You know what, Paul? If Jose Sa scores a goal, you get 5 bonus points for calling that.
Got it.
and if all 3 of those guys score, you just win.
Keep it. I've just won it. Yeah,
you
it
just
can't
won.
be topped.
We'll play for second place. You know, that would be like an Erling Haaland just masterpiece right there. So. So I'm watching with my dad, who I'm still trying to convince that soccer is really, really awesome to watch. So I really need a good game this week, guys. Like, I can't have a 0-0 till the 85th minute. Like, so I am, but I also don't think they're going to score a lot. So I'm going to say 1-0 with a Bellegarde to Big Sassy goal on a cross. I also feel good about Big Sassy this week, Alex.
Yeah.
I love the meta narrative that you're banking on a Wolves Bournemouth game to prove that soccer is exciting to watch.
Maybe have a second screen with City Brighton. Maybe.
Yeah. The last time I had him watch a game it was like Manchester United and Wolves. It was like late in the year, a couple of years ago, when Wolves like started a bunch of young kids and then blew it in the 88th minute or something. So yeah, I'm really, really hoping. I have gotten, even after the Luton Town disaster, I've gotten my cousin in California to watch several Wolves games since then. So, positives. It helped that Man City was right after that. So, little
That's a
positive.
big get for someone on Pacific time.
Oh, especially he has a little boy who's like a year and a half old, and he started watching, and I was like, boom, Christmas gift right there from cousin Josh.
No Stupid Questions is presented by Esfuerzo Wines. Located just north of Santa Barbara, California, Esfuerzo Wines showcases passion and 3 generations of winemaking in every bottle. So whether you're celebrating a Wolves victory or winding down after a day at work, let Esfuerzo Wines transport you to the heart of California's wine country with every sip. For a limited time, head to esfuerzowines.com and use the promo code WOLVES for a 15% discount on your wine purchases. This message is intended for those of legal drinking age. Do not drink and drive. Excessive alcohol consumption may be harmful to your health. If you or someone you know is struggling with alcohol abuse, please seek help. Esfuerzo Wines reminds you to enjoy their products responsibly and in moderation.
Okay, we got some no stupid questions.
Yes, of course we do. It's our favorite part of the show where you can ask anything related to Wolves, and it is brought to you by Esfuerzo Wines, showcasing 3 generations of winemaking in every bottle. And for a limited time, you can head to esfuerzowines.com. That's ESFUERZO wines.com and use the promo code WOLVES. You'll receive 15% off of your order when you do so. Had the Pinot Noir last week, Sauvignon Blanc this week. It's just a regular thing. Sitting here recording this pod, sipping wine. It's a wonderful thing. All right, the first no stupid question comes to us via somebody called Alex Patakis, and he says, in the spirit of spooky season, which costumes, Josh and the gang, would you select for Wolves players and why? So why don't we do a little around the horn here? Everybody pick one Wolves player and tell us which would be the most fitting costume for that player. I feel like this is Josh's wheelhouse, so you should.
Oh, yeah. We had talked about this. I told you a couple of weeks ago we needed to do this. So there's a lot you can go with. You can go with Huang being a Squid Games in the Squid Games tracksuit, but I also feel like, that's a little stereotyping. I don't know. I feel like João Gomez, even though he's not super tall, he'd be a good leprechaun. Jose Sa would be a good werewolf, but I'm gonna go Sasha Kalajic as Slender Man.
Nice.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
I thought you'd go giraffe.
Giraffe was my second choice.
What about Big Ben? You dress up as Big Ben?
It's not bad.
Paul, who do you got? What's your who are you taking trick-or-treating with you, and what are they wearing?
I think he's gonna pull it off, and he's shown it before with the mask, I believe. There'd be no better Batman than Max Kilman.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's got the look. He's got a Bruce Wayne, so perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely got some Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, the quiet guy. I could see it.
Totally.
Danny?
All right. This might be a bit left field. I don't know. We'll see what you think about this. But I know that Doc is an avid golfer. So I'm going to say that he dresses up as Tiger Woods. He goes with the red polo. Just don't use any spray tans or anything like that. Don't go that far. Just wear the red polo and maybe bring a club with you or something. I don't know.
Now, is the club going to be through his car window? And does he bring some Subway and Southwest tickets with him?
Yeah, it depends on how crazy the party gets, obviously. But maybe the club goes through the window.
Oh man. It's definitely more doable now that he's rid of the mullet as well. I have to admit, I did not.
Yeah, I was not a
not
mullet
a fan
guy,
of that. Yeah, like it works for
It was
some
like he went
people.
to Samato's same barber and forgot to say, "I don't want that."
Yeah. All right. I
Well, wait,
also,
Alex, we got to hear from you. Yeah, what's
yeah, I
yours?
was gonna say, well, I wanted to be different. I also had one for our boy Sasa. Other than dressing up as the future Ballon d'Or winner that he is. But I'm gonna go with what I originally had. I will go with Sasha. It's different though. But I'm just gonna have him as Lurch from the Adams family.
That's good.
I like that.
And it is it's a stretch for him from a character perspective because he's so happy and he will have to not emote. But I think he's got the acting chops to pull that off. So I'll go
You
with him
know,
as Lurch.
if he's Lurch, I could see Neto dressing up as Wednesday and them going trick or treating together.
He could make a good Wednesday, actually.
Yeah, I mean, if you think
He's got
about
like
it,
the dark features, but some like not that, but like
Mhm.
kind of fair skin.
Yeah. I
I
guarantee
can
you
see that.
Neto loves October because he probably loves scary movies.
I could see that. And pranking
Mhm.
people,
Yep.
scaring people.
Yep.
Man, I'm gonna miss him.
Wow. Already acceptance.
All right, we will. By the way, what we would like to do is get others' answers to this question. So next week, and I'm sure we'll prompt you for it on Twitter at WLW Pod. But we encourage you to send your submissions so we can have a little Halloween themed episode next week as we inch closer and closer to our, many people's favorite American holiday. I don't know where you guys rank it. I have some friends that say it's their absolute favorite, and I'm like, is it a holiday? Like, does it even count? But we're going to celebrate it here. So submit your best costume ideas for Wolves players at WLW Pod. Hello at wholelotofwolves.com if you want to do it via email. That's where you get us, and that's where we always take your no stupid questions as well.
That
The
has
31st is a Tuesday as well, so we might have to dress up and do a show.
Ooh, there we go.
I like it. I like it. I think this has Todd DeWitt written all over it.
Oh, I'm sure. Speaking of Todd DeWitt, by the way, he did tweet in at WLW Pod his no stupid question, which is simply, when is Josh going to start playing Football Manager? I believe the new one is coming out soon.
And this was done because I was unaware of the fact that there is a Dorking FC. I learn new stuff. This is what's great about this podcast. I learn new stuff all the time, and Dorking FC and Danny was like, "Yep, you gotta play Football Manager."
Not only that, they're called Dorking Wanderers.
Oh man.
Did you know
I
there
didn't-
was a Dorking, Alex?
I didn't know, not until the viral video very recently, and I didn't know until just a second ago that they were the Wanderers. So
Yeah.
that's
Paul,
pretty
is
sweet.
Dorking an actual, is the town named
Yeah, it's
Dorking?
a place. Yeah, it's a place. But the whole Dorking just reminded me of Jeff Shee's article in the Express and Star, or his new feature that's going to be a regular event. I'm not sure if you read it, but he went on some crazy tangent of meeting a friend and talking about Woking and Championship Manager or Football Manager. So it's like everyone's talking about it at the moment, whether it's Dorking or Woking, or it's a prominent theme.
I mean, let's be honest. We've known for years that Jeff Shee plays Football Manager. Once he paid for Fabio, and then if you always looked at like that year, it was all the like high potential guys he was signing. 100% he was. It's like me becoming a Wolves fan because I'm like, who's this guy that's beating me down the right side every time? Ooh, Adama Traore. I like him. So I'll only do Football Manager if I know for sure I can get Adama on my team every year.
Yeah. Well, you can get him in FIFA pretty easily.
Oh,
His
yeah.
price tag is very low. I'm in the January transfer window of my first season of my career, and the new FIFA. Josh, I don't know if you've cracked into that.
I haven't got it because I've been traveling a lot lately. But now, are you playing as Wolves, or did you
Yes.
create a club?
No, I'm playing as Wolves. I try to keep it realistic. but you get so far ahead. Like, how can one actually know? So,
So
I
Haaland
just
is on your team, right?
actually, even in fictional FIFA land, they do not have the budget for that. So I think you have to click on the financial takeover feature, which I did not do. I'm gonna try to earn it. So
I think you guys know my first two signings in FIFA when I take over Wolves now.
well, Adama.
Adama and come on.
John McGinn. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, it's
West
got to be Weston.
Oh
McKinney.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I'm
Oh yeah,
disappointed. I'm
Weston
disappointed
the
in you,
Wolves.
Alex. Yeah,
I haven't
Weston
signed
the
an
Wolves.
American actually. I gotta get on that.
Speaking
All
of
right.
that and spreadsheets, January's coming up. I might need to do a refresh.
One of these days it's gonna happen. It has to.
Yeah, it has to.
Emerging markets, that's what they're all about, right? Like, isn't the US that? Come on.
Mhm.
Seriously. Anyway, all right. Michael Moser writes in. We talked about punchable faces. Yes, we did. We talked about that at length. What about lovable faces? I really like this question.
I do as well. I do as well. So I was thinking about it, and this kind of goes against my big ears argument, where I said most people with big ears, they're soccer players. You just want to punch them in the face. I feel like Matthias Nunes has a lovable face, or not
What?
Nunes. Excuse me. Wow. Okay, I gotta stop drinking. Matthias Cunha has a very lovable face. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Cunha. Yes, not Nunes. Nunes, yeah, no.
That was my initial reaction. I felt that is true. He has a very good looking face. He's got a great smile. I
Mm-hmm.
think that if you are a fan of any team other than Wolves, you probably quickly come to hate him for the amount of times he falls on the ground and gestures to the ref. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and he has a neck tattoo, like behind the ear tattoo, right? I think he has a
Mhm.
like. There's a lot of things you can kind of zone in on if you really didn't want to like him. But I agree
Yeah.
that his overall vibe is impeccable if you're a Wolves fan.
Mm-hmm. Joe Gomez too.
Yeah, yeah. Do you guys have any very likable faces, even if they're non Wolves players?
I think he's no longer with us, but Moutinho had everything.
Mm.
Cheeky little grin, handsome, one of those guys that you look at who you could just tell smells nice. Like all of the tangible features.
Definitely.
What does
And
Moutinho smell like?
olive oil.
I was going to say tacos and aftershave.
What? Oh, man.
I think for you always kind of see it in rose tinted specs about your own players, and it's kind of hard to look at opponents and think that, oh, he's nice or he's got a lovable face. The one player for me, I think you could possibly pick out being on the fence is Son at Spurs. That
Mm-hmm.
he just looks like nice, and he probably would never even think of doing anything bad, but he might have that nasty streak in him, like when he did that tackle and broke who was it for Everton? Was it it was a bad tackle that involved
yeah, I know. I
eventual
can't
leg
remember who
break.
it was.
Yeah. But yeah, has he actually got that nasty side to him? So maybe there's an element of doubt in that one.
I'm regularly drawn to Koreans, so
It was
definitely
Andre
in the sense.
Gomez,
That was it, yeah.
another person
Yeah.
with a very nice, lovable face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anyone on Liverpool that has a lovable face? I
I
can't
mean,
think
they
of
would
one.
say Salah, I think. I mean, he's got a very friendly face.
No.
Nah, too much for a cheat.
I could say some stuff that I probably would get in trouble with on here, so I'll just say no.
You can.
I mean, that's the thing. It's a matter of criteria. We're just talking about, pleasing face looks like a friendly person, or are we talking about antics on the field too?
Yeah.
I think it
Mm.
plays into it.
It's hard to separate those.
Allison,
Yeah.
then?
Nah.
Nah.
He seems like a grump.
Look, I'm doing my best here.
From Liverpool, it can only be Diogo Jota, just for the happy memories that it's like that hot chick he dated in high school that went off and married the eventual captain of the football team, you know, and
yeah,
you got that feeling to it.
I liked it.
I mean, Sasha's got to be on there. You know, he's got like aside from just the height, he's on there. My non-Wolves one though is just someone I if you don't like this person, there's something wrong with you. But like Bukayo Saka is just like supremely likable in everything that he does, and he's a great player and seems like a great person. So he would be my number one non-Wolves player. And even if he's like scoring against, like, I don't begrudge him, you know, like even if he's like producing a result that makes me sad. So good on him. He seems like a great one. That's it for No Stupid Questions this week. Again, brought to you by Esfuerzo Wines. You go to esfuerzowines.com, promo code Wolves, 50% off of your order. The wine is delicious. I'm working my way through my case that I got. So keep you guys posted each week, and it's kind of the fuel of the show, along with Josh's mega mug of whiskey that we have every week here.
Yeah, that mega mug of whiskey. You know, they say make it a double. I make it a quadruple.
And that's the preview show for this week, dear listener. We're going to be back same time, same place next week. We're going to review it all and then preview the following Saturday's prime time fixture against Newcastle at home. So let us know on the socials or via email if you've got any watch parties, and we'll be sure to share those out for you. And reviews are good and always appreciated on the podcast platform that you listen to us on. So do go ahead and do a review of Whole Lot of Wolves. Thanks to Alex producing, Danny on the socials. Listeners, we're excited again, and we can say, up the mighty Wolves.